again from Charlotte. In addition to all the Democratic delegates who've come here, of course, various interest groups and industries and organizations that support the president, and congressional Democrats and Democratic governors are here as well. One of those is Richard Trumka. Great to see you, sir. Thanks for being with us.
I'm also a delegate.
And you are a delegate from the state of?
Pennsylvania.
Your home state.
Yep.
There are some who are taking note of the fact that you and your union brothers and sisters actually showed up this week. The fact that there had been some disagreements between organized labor and the Democratic Party about being here in a state that is not as union friendly as some of the other cities that threw their hat into the ring. So why in the end did organized labor show up so prominently?
Well, first of all, we have over 1,000 delegates here that have been elected from all 50 states around the country that came here. Second of all, we have 140,000 members in North Carolina, and they deserve to be heard as well. And we also thought that the people, the workers in North Carolina, they deserve all the same rights as everybody else, every other worker in every other state. So we decided to come here. But the biggest part of it is, look, we have too many big things going on. We have an economy that we have to create jobs in. We have to put people back to work. We have to solve those problems. It's no good for us to be able to look backwards. We really do have to look forward, and we wanted to come and try to help the country solve its problems.
Talked to a young union worker last night from out west who said something similar. He said, I was aware of the concerns that my union has and that the organized labor movement has with the party being here, but at this point it was more important for us to meet in a battleground state and try to win it than it was to have this disagreement. Is that a fair assessment?
Well said by the member.
Okay.
I always listen to our members.
There you go. And you said about 1,000 union members have been elected delegates?
Over 1,000. Yeah.
Is that down from previous years as we understand it?
It is. In the past we've had probably up to 1,800 members, 1,500, 1,400. This time with literally very little effort, we had over 1,000 people of our members elected.
And are they from every state, you said? Or are they certain pockets of the country more than others?
Virtually every state.
There's been some suggestion that over the last 4 years, the president, the administration has maybe picked winners and losers among unions. And you know, perhaps the fact that with the auto bailout, the auto unions got a lot more attention than perhaps public sector unions, which have certainly suffered from the economic downfall, whether the federal worker unions in the DC area and across the country or public sector teachers unions and others. Is that a fair assessment that perhaps some have benefited more than others or not?
I think, you know, look, I think this president's really tried to help the country. Thank God he helped the auto industry. Because you can't be a world power without an auto industry. You can't have a manufacturing base unless you have an auto industry base. And since he's done that, over 250,000 people have been rehired. They're working in an industry that wouldn't have been there. That benefits everybody. That benefits school teachers because we have a higher tax base. That benefits all of us. So I think he's tried his best. I think he's had a determined opposition that have been more interested in playing politics than they have been working with him to solve the problems of the country. That's sad because the country really needs everybody on deck. Right now we need unity more than we've ever needed it before in our history.
If I'm a worker in either in an industry or in a company that is offering union membership or have that possibility and can join, why in this day and age should anyone join a union?
Why?
Yeah.
To have a voice on the job. Because we do a number of things. Look, if you like working with your employer, you want to make better products, those procedures always work better when a union's involved. And you're going to say, why is that?
Yeah, why is that?
Well, let me give you an example. When my son was 3 years old or 4 years old, he would come to me and say, Daddy, I want to go somewhere. And I'd say, no. What was his recourse? He had no recourse. It was no. And then my wife comes to me. My wife says, I want to buy a new car. Trust me, that's a different procedure. The bargaining powers are even. So when you have equal bargaining power, you make better decisions, decisions that are good for everybody. When you have the research and power of a union behind you, we make products better. We make them more efficient. Our employers are some of the most efficient in the world. We give longevity. We have better benefits. We even have better participation in the electoral process than in right-to-work states.
I want to ask you about that in a second, but give me an example then, maybe a modern-day example you've heard of from your members of where having a union work with the company
Harley Davidson, Ford, GM, Chrysler, Kaiser Permanente. You want me to go on?
Okay, fair enough. You've answered that one before, clearly. You mentioned political involvement. Give us a sense of where and how and perhaps how much money you guys are prepared to spend into November.
Look, we're going to get so far outspent in this election, it's unbelievable. The other side's going to spend $3-4 billion. I mean, they spent $15 billion already against Sherrod Brown in Ohio. They spent $75 million in Wisconsin with Scott Walker. They're going to spend a lot of money, and that's a shame, because they had a meeting in 2010, and it was called by ALEC, the American Legislative Education Council. Their avowed purpose was to reduce the progressive vote in 2012 by 10%. That was their avowed purpose. And what do? They take on unions, they take on immigrants, they take on students, they do these voter ID things, they eliminate early voting, all of those things to make it more difficult for workers to vote. That's sad. That's sad because our democracy depends on participation, and we ought to be trying to figure out how to get more people to participate rather than less.
Richard Trumka, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.